Welcome back to Revenue RX, the podcast at the intersection of pharmacy and finance. I'm your host, Lubna Mazen. Today, we are setting aside our regularly scheduled lineup because CMS just proposed something every 340B hospital needs to know and understand right now. Buried inside the calendar year 2027 Hospital Outpatient Prospective Payment System, OPPS, proposed rule is a change to how Medicare pays for 340B acquired drugs. If finalized as proposed, it would be the steepest cut to 340B CMS has ever proposed, deeper than the cut the Supreme Court struck down in 2022. Today, we're going to walk through how we got here, what's being proposed, and what that means to your margin. To understand why this proposal matters so much, we need to look back in time and look at the history. From 2018 to 2022, CMS paid 340B acquired drugs at ASP minus 22.5%, a steep cut from the standard rate of ASP plus 6%, which is provided for non-340B drugs. CMS argued that this better reflected what 340B hospitals actually paid to acquire those drugs. The American Hospital Association sued. And in June of 2022, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously in the American Hospital Association versus Becerra that CMS acted unlawfully because it varied payment rates by hospital group without first conducting the survey of hospitals' actual acquisition cost that the law requires. CMS restored the ASP plus 6% rate that September. And because 340B hospitals had been underpaid for nearly 5 years, CMS calculated a remedy, roughly $9 billion in a one-time lump sum payment to approximately 1,700 affected hospitals, covering the shortfalls from 2018 through mid-2022. That remedy had to be paid for somehow, and OPPS is required to stay budget neutral. CMS's solution was to claw back $7.8 billion by reducing payments for non-drug items and services by 0.5% a year starting in 2026. At that pace, full recovery was projected to take 16 years. Now, CMS says it conducted a new survey of hospital drug acquisition costs from January through April of 2026 and found what it calls significant disparities between what hospitals pay for 340B acquired drugs and what they pay for the same drugs outside the program. Based on that survey, CMS is proposing to pay 340B acquired drugs at ASP minus 33.4% starting in calendar year 2027. Let's sit with that number for a second. The rate the Supreme Court struck down as unlawful was ASP minus 22.5%. This proposal is nearly 11 percent points deeper than that. CMS itself estimates that this would reduce the original Medicare drug payments by $4.55 billion in the first year alone, plus another $1.15 billion in reduced beneficiary cost sharing. This time, CMS says it did the survey first. That is the exact language that the Supreme Court flagged in 2022. Whether this survey is going to withstand the legal challenges is a separate question, and one that I'd expect hospital associations to scrutinize closely during the comment period. Here's the part that compounds the impact. CMS isn't just proposing a deeper cut moving forward. It's also proposing to speed up how fast it claws back the money already owed from 2018 to the 2022 for the remedy. Instead of the 0.5% annual offset to non-drug payments that was projected to take 16 years, CMS is proposing to raise that offset to 3% a year, which is 6 times the current pace, just to finish the full $7.8 billion recovery by calendar year 2029. This means 2 separate financial hits are being proposed to land at the same time. A steeper 340B drug payment cut starting in 2027, layered on top of that drastically faster clawbacks against non-drug OPPS revenue. Neither of these affect just the pharmacy budget alone. This will impact health systems as a whole. Let's translate the percentages into dollars using simple math. Let's say your organization currently bills a 340B acquired drug with an ASP of $1,000 per unit. At that rate, ASP plus 6%, Medicare pays $1,060. Under the proposed rule of ASP minus 33.4%, that same unit would pay $666. That's a swing of about $394 per unit, or roughly 37% less than what you're currently collecting today. On every single 340B claim, before you even factor in the accelerated offset. What I worry about the most with this proposed rule is the precedent to reduce reimbursement for 340B drugs. When CMS changes its 340B payment methodology, state Medicaid programs and commercial payers often echo that same sentiment. That is a slower and harder to model risk, but a real challenge that we will need to face if this rule is finalized. So, what can we do right now? A few concrete steps worth taking while there is still time, and this is still a proposal, not a final rule, is to first model your own exposure. Pull your 340B acquired drug claim volumes and run it through both current and proposed rates to see your organization's actual dollar impact, not just the industry-wide estimate. Second, watch the comment period. CMS published this proposed rule on July 7th of 2026, and comments are due by August 31st, 2026. Mark that date now and decide whether your organization will submit comments directly or through a professional organization. Third, loop in finance. This offset not only touches pharmacy, but it also touches non-drug OPPS payments. This is not just a pharmacy conversation. Finance needs to see both halves of the equation. Fourth is track the final rule closely. The proposed rule rates should not be used to project your budget for next year. Instead, budget out multiple different scenarios depending on what gets finalized. This proposal is still just that, a proposal. But by the size of it and the acceleration of the offset alongside of it, this is one of the most consequential 340B stories since the Supreme Court ruling itself. If your organization relies on 340B savings to support pediatrics, oncology, or disproportionate populations, this is not just a headline to skim past. It's a number worth modeling right now while there's still time to respond before it's final. Thank you for listening to another episode of Revenue RX. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and share it with a friend. Healing patients is the mission. Protecting the margin is the strategy. This is Revenue RX. Quick disclaimer, this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. The views shared are my own and do not represent any organization I am affiliated with. This is not legal, financial, or reimbursement advice, and you should consult your internal experts before making any decisions.